Hello everyone and welcome to a very tacky Christmas. We, over the next few weeks during our Advent season, will be following along with the Very Tacky Christmas devotional that you can pick up in the comments with some activities that go along with each week. So we are starting week 1 is the pickle tradition. So you can read through your devotion about the hide the pickle tradition. We are going to make a pickle ornament for you to hide on your tree if you would like to do that as a family. So I am following the 3-ingredient salt dough recipe for this project. I did half the recipe because I don't need quite as much dough. So if you have a larger family, you may want to use double the ingredients that I have. But here I have 1 cup of flour and then half a cup of salt. So I'm going to take and mix those ingredients together so that they are well combined. And once I have those ingredients combined pretty well, I'm going to take half a cup of water to add to this. Again, if you have a large family, you may need to double your amounts. I'm going to add half a cup of water kind of gradually as I'm mixing. So I'll add a little bit and kind of stir that in. And I'll add a little bit more. And you're looking to get kind of a Play-Doh consistency from your dough. Add the rest of it. If you notice that your ratios are a little bit off and you have too sticky of a dough, you can add just, maybe a teaspoon more flour to that. If you notice that it's not doughy enough, then you may need to add just a teaspoon or so more water. So once I have it pretty well combined, I think I'm going to need more water in mine. So I'm going to get just a little bit more water. I'm just going to add a bit more water to this and continue mixing. And eventually it's going to be such that I cannot mix it anymore with my fork, and I will have to go to my hands. So if you have any jewelry or anything on, you may want to take those off for this part. And just a little more water. Okay, and now I'm going to dump it onto my countertop. Mix it up the rest of the way. Once you have your dough mixed, you're going to knead your dough with your hands for about 5 or 6 minutes until it has a really nice consistency. You want it to feel like Play-Doh. You don't want it to be too sticky, but you also don't want it to be too dry. So mine is a little bit sticky, but I think it's going to be okay. I am going to add a little bit more flour to mine because it does seem to be just a little bit sticky, and you really do want that Play-Doh consistency. So I've got to kind of mix that flour in as I'm kneading. I'm still pretty sticky, so I'm just going to add a tiny bit more flour. That's the nice thing about this recipe is it's really easy to troubleshoot. If it's too sticky, you need more flour. If it's too dry, you need more water. When you are ready to make your ornament, you're just going to take your Play-Doh that you've made. I put mine in a bag earlier because I wasn't quite ready. So I'm going to take it out. And you're just going to kind of make it nice and flat. You only want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. So you want to press it nice and flat. And if you have a pickle cookie cutter, this will probably be a lot easier for you. I do not have one. So I'm gonna try and just freehand it, and I'm just gonna cut a pickle shape out of my dough. But you wanna make sure your dough is nice and thin before you do that. Otherwise it will not bake evenly and you'll end up with just a blob. You could also use a rolling pin if you wanted. I could probably find one in here. I'm sure we have some, but I didn't. So I'm just doing it by hand. It's kind of fun. I guess that's about 1/4 of an inch. So then I'm just gonna try and cut a pickle shape. Thinking of Larry the cucumber as I'm doing this. And I'm going to pick the rest of it up from around it. Just like you would if you were making sugar cookies. So, now I've got my pickle. And I'm going to give it a little bit of texture so that it looks like a pickle. So sometimes pickles have like dimples. And you can use a knife or a spoon or honestly even your finger to do this. I'm going to use the end of my knife. That. And then if you wanted to take a little pieces to try and make it look bumpy like pickles sometimes do, you can do that too. You can get as creative as you would like with these. I'm just going to carefully pick this up and lay it on my cookie sheet. And there's my pickle ornament. And they don't need to be perfect because pickles aren't perfect. They're messy and, they're only as perfect as the cucumber was. I have a lot of dough left over. So at the beginning I said you might need to double my recipe, but I don't think you will. But you can if you want. It's fun to play with. So I am going to pop this into the oven for about a half an hour to let it bake. I'm going to have to check on it. It might have to come out a little sooner. Once it starts to turn golden brown, that's when you'll take it out. And then you want to let it cool for a little bit before you try and do anything else with it. So I'm going to pop mine in the oven. All right, everyone. Now that we have finished baking our pickles, they should be nice and hard now. So they aren't going to break. They're really kind of like an extra hard cookie. So now we get to decorate them. So I'm going to use paint. You can also use markers if you have those on hand. I'm going to try not to spray paint all over myself. Just put a little bit out there. Take my brush. And you just want to make sure you cover the whole thing. So you want it to be green like a pickle, not beige like a cookie. You might get some paint on yourself if you use paint. If you use markers, I suppose that you would avoid that. Alright, so once the whole front of your pickle is colored, then comes the slightly messy part if you're using paint. You get to do the other sides and the back, because you kind of want the whole thing to be covered, especially if you're going to put it on your Christmas tree. So hopefully your paint isn't quite as runny as mine, because that is definitely making this challenging. But you're just going to kind of, I'm holding it because I feel like that's less messy. You can just totally flip it over if you'd like, but you're just going to get paint all over it, like this. And you'll set it back down. Just gonna wipe my fingers off a little. And then, if you are like me, then you love glitter and think that all things that are Christmas related should probably have glitter. So I'm gonna add some. If you have some on hand, feel free to do the same. And it should just stick to your paint, so you shouldn't have to glue it down at all. Just you gotta just commit and go for it. Got a little bit on the back too. And then once that dries, that glitter should stick. Most of it, probably not all of it, you'll want to shake it out over a trash can. And then last but not least, there is, you hopefully made a hole in your ornament before you baked it, or right after. That's when I did it. So you're going to use string, or I'm using a pipe cleaner because that's a little bit easier, I think. You're just going to put that through the hole. And then that creates the loop for your ornament. You also could wait for it to dry before you do this. I would probably recommend that because I'm getting very messy. And then you just kind of twist it or tie it if you're using string. And that creates the loop so that you can hang your pickle on your Christmas tree. So that is our pickle ornament.